Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thankful to be here this morning. Thankful for this word. Thankful for how he teaches us. Through teaching this word, I'm almost going to feel like Jeremiah. Really teaching this word, because a lot of what is being taught today, even in Messianic or even in Torah Observant, or the doctrine that's just being taught today and tossed around. Be ready, prepare yourself, gather up your food, gather up your ammo. We talked about that last week. And I might say some pretty shocking things today, because that's what the biblical, or the people that hold on to biblical truth, that's what they're saying. You need to prepare yourself, get your water, get your food. You need to get all this right now and prepare yourself. And there was a time that, and why I said that I feel like Jeremiah, there was a time when there were false prophets. In that time, the time of Jeremiah, they said to stay in the land. And Jeremiah came and said, let the Chaldeans take you. So Jeremiah was the only one that was teaching that. He was the only one that was teaching that. And whenever they said, don't listen to him, and he said, don't listen to them, he was contrary to everything that was being taught. So I hope that we can back up what we're saying today with Scripture, and kind of just trust more in Yah every day, because that's what this is about. So if you would, let us all stand and turn to Exodus 16. Exodus 16, we learned a lot just reading this section of things that were in this. So it was good. I enjoyed reading this, and he brought a lot out. And the more that I read it, the more that he showed us, the more that he showed in the Scripture. It's just like, thank you, Yah. This is good stuff. Yah, we love you. So Exodus 16 and verse 14. So we all know what this is. And the layer of dew went up, and see, on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance as fine as frost on the ground. And the children of Israel saw, and they said to each other, what is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moshe said to them, it is bread which Yahuwah has given you to eat. This is the word which Yahuwah has commanded. Let every man gather it according to each one's need, an omer for each being. According to the number of beings, let every man take for those who are in his tent. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered some more and some less, as they needed. And they measured it by omers, and he who gathered much did not have too much, and he who gathered little did not have too little. Each one gathered according to his need. And Moshe said, let no one leave any of it until the morning. And they did not listen to Moshe. Some of them left part of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank, and Moshe was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, each one according to his need. And when the sun came up hot, it melted. And it came to be on the sixth day that they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each one. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moshe. And he said to them, this is what Yahuwah has said, tomorrow is a rest, a Shabbat, Sabbath, Kodesh, set apart to Yahuwah. That which you bake, bake, and that which you cook, cook, and lay up for yourselves all that is left over, to keep it until the morning. And they laid it up till morning, as Moshe commanded, and it did not stink, and no worm was in it. And Moshe said, eat it today, for today is the Sabbath to Yahuwah. Today you do not find it in the field. So there will be no gathering. There will be no gathering in the field. Gather it 6 days, notice, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, there is none. And it came to be that some of the people went out on the 7th day to gather, but they found none. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, how long shall you refuse to guard my commandments and my Torah? Let us all bow our heads. Yahuwah, thank you for this day that you've given us. Yah, thank you for your love. You are our Elohim. We are your people. We're just so thankful for how you teach us, you guide us, you're merciful to us, Yah. May we depend on you and have a confident expectation that you are who you say you are. May we grow closer to you in these days, and may you strengthen us in the inward man. We just lift you up on high. We're so thankful for who you are. We're thankful for the people that are here, and thankful for the people that might pay attention and listen to this message later, Yah. I pray that you would touch them, and that you would heal them, and that they would have a confident expectation in you, that you would fulfill their spiritual and their physical needs. May we always depend on you for our daily rate. Keep us, preserve us, forgive us if we fail you, mold us, make us into your image. Baruch Hashem. Hallelujah. Amen. Speak for us, Yah. So, Exodus 16 and 14, we're going to read and we're going to hit parts again that really stuck out to us. So, Exodus 16 and 14, and the layer of dew went up, see, on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance as fine as frost on the ground. And the children of Israel saw, and they said to each other, what is it? They can say, what is it? Or they can say, it is a portion. That is what that means. First off, and we were looking in the art scroll at if I could find anything according to this, because there was another part in Deuteronomy where it says, man shall not live by bread alone, but every word. You can't find the word in there. Some people say everything that comes from the mouth of Yah, everything that proceeds from Yah. So I was looking really for that word to see if there was anything that they had to say about it in the art scroll, but they didn't. But when you look at it, they had never seen anything like this. They had never experienced anything like this. So and literally, if you look at the root word for manna, it's ma, and it is literally what, how, why, when. Like, what is this? How did this get here? Why is this here? When did this show up? They're asking all these questions. They're like, what, when, where, who, what, why, we, who, what? They were baffled. They had never seen anything like this. So, what is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moshe said to them, it is bread which Yahuwah has given you to eat. This is the word which Yahuwah has commanded. Now, he gives you the bread, and he commands you to take care of it. He gives you instructions on how to gather it. He gives you instructions on how to take care of it. Yah gives you instructions. And there are really important parts on this that hit me. And I was like, man, that's some good stuff. So, this is the word which Yahuwah has commanded. Let every man gather it according to each one's need. An omer for each being, according to the number of beings. Let every man take for those who are in his tent. And the children of Israel did so and gathered, some more, some less. So they took their portion. They took exactly as much as they needed for that day. And they measured it by omers, and he who gathered much did not have too much. So he gathered just enough. And he who gathered little did not have too little. Each one gathered according to his need. And Moshe said, let no one leave any of it till the morning. So gather just as much as you need. Eat it throughout that day. It is your portion. Don't let anyone leave of it until the morning. And they did not listen to Moshe. So some of them left part of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank, and Moshe was wroth with them. So, what are we drawing from this? They were trying to keep a little so they would have some in the morning. They gathered enough that day. We've got it today, but will we have it tomorrow? That's what they were doing. They left it for the morning, because they did not trust that the word was true, that it would come again. So they gathered more than they needed. They gathered more than their daily rate. If we had a title for this message, it would be Your Daily Rate. It is your portion. Today. Trust in him today for your portion. You don't have to depend on yourself. You don't have to gather more than what he has prescribed. You gather enough for what you need according to your tent. He will provide for you today. He will provide for you tomorrow. And we didn't write this in here, but while he speaks to us, I don't know what the future holds. But you know what? I have yet to be without. I have yet to be without. And whenever we read about the children of Israel in the wilderness, he said, I fed you with manna. I gave you water from the rock. He said, I clothed you, and the clothing you had on did not wear out. He's going to take care of you. Now, depending on him This is how he shocks us. Depending on him for your daily rate. Does that scare you? Does that scare you? What does that mean? People are gathering up food. People are gathering up water. People are hoarding all this stuff. What if it was another device for people to clear out the grocery stores? What if it was another device for them to take all your money? Are you scared to depend on him for your daily rate? Are you a person who's going to gather more than you need that day so you'll have some in the morning? Although he's already promised to you that it's going to be there. He supplies your needs daily. It might shock some of us. We might be scared that it won't be there. Some gathered more than what they needed because they were afraid it was not going to be there in the morning. Are you afraid to trust him for your daily needs? So much that you would be scared to hoard up all this food or to hoard up all this water. That's not being taught today. So, let's read verse 20 again. And they did not listen to Moshe. They did not listen to the command. They did not obey. So some of them left part of it until morning, and it bred worms and stank, and Moshe was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, each one according to his need. They didn't gather more. They didn't gather less. They gathered it according to every one in their tent. And when the sun became hot, it melted. You know what that means? You can't be late. You can't be late to gather it. You got to be there when it's there. You got to be on time. If you show up late, it is already waxed from the heat and it is gone. So you have to show up on time, according to his time. If you show up too late, it's not going to be there. It's according to his command. It says every morning they got up and gathered. When the sun became hot, it melted. And it came to be on the 6th day that they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each one. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moshe. And he said to them, this is what Yahuwah has said. Tomorrow is a rest, a Sabbath, Shabbat, Kodesh, set apart to Yahuwah. That which you bake, bake, and that which you cook, cook. And lay up for yourselves all that is left over to keep it until the morning. And they laid it up till morning, and Moshe commanded, and it did not stink, and no worm was in it. You know what? That's a miracle. The miracle of the manna. They have experienced 6 days of people probably leaving some of that over, it breeding worms and stinking. And then on the 6th day, Yah says, gather it, prepare it, for the 7th day, because there will be no gathering on the Sabbath day. They experienced a miracle that day. So, and Moshe said, eat it today, for today is a Sabbath to Yahuwah. Today you do not find it in the field. Gather it 6 days, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, there is none. So, first off, we already see how it is a sanctified, set-apart day. He protects that day to him. There should be no gathering on that day. Okay? And it came to be that some of the people went out on the 7th day to gather, but they found none. If you do not do it according to his word, you're going to starve. If you do not do it according to how he has prescribed, it will not be supplied to you. That's the truth. If you don't show up on time, if you don't trust that it'll be there in the morning and you try to hold some over, you try to hoard some up, because you don't trust that you'll be taken care of the next day? If you don't gather enough on Friday for Saturday, because maybe you didn't want to put in the extra work, it's not going to be there for you. He gives you the word, and he gives you a way to take care of it. It is prescribed for you. What we really want to get out of this is that Yah takes care of your daily needs. Every single one. I believe this book is a physical book, but I also believe that this book is a spiritual book. Now, he takes care of your spiritual needs. What does that mean? It means that the love that you look for, it means the joy that you look for, it means the hope that you look for. And when I say hope, it's not just some idea of things will happen. It is a confident expectation that it will happen. He supplies that for you. People often put their spouses on a pedestal. And your spouse cannot fulfill every spiritual desire, if any spiritual desire, that you have. And that's the truth. And you know why relationships break up? Because people are looking for something that that person cannot supply. They are looking to fill a void that cannot be filled with things that are physical. That's why relationships break up, because it's good in the morning or it's good in the beginning. And then later on, when trial comes and testing comes, they give up. Because they had something that was physical in the beginning and nothing that was eternal. So, you cannot find spiritual things from a person. You cannot, and this is the way that I understand it. So Yah feeds you spiritually, and he takes care of you spiritually. The love that you're looking for, Yah supplies it. The joy, the patience. Now look, we need to be patient, but also look how patient he is with us. That is a spiritual gift. And people are looking for that and to fill that void, and it is found in Yah. Nothing can fill that for you. Nothing. People are trying to fill it with physical things of this world. And that void will never be filled. And you know why? Because you have to continue to go to it when it's depleted. When the feeling's gone, it's all gone, and you need more. You're trying to fill a spiritual void with things that are physical. And you know what? The people that ask for this bread are the same people later in Numbers that come back and say, we're sick of this bread. When you trust in Yah, and this is what it says in Proverbs, your soul will be satisfied. You know what really makes me scratch my head? Why didn't Moshe follow along with the children of Israel? He never complained for bread. He never complained for water. He never complained. Why? Because he was satisfied to do the will of the Father. That was his satisfaction. And every need that he had, he knew Yah would supply it. He didn't do what the children of Israel did. He trusted in Yah. He was a rock for them. Gather it 6 days, but on the seventh day, which is the Sabbath, there is none. Verse 27. And it came to be that some of the people went out on the seventh day to gather, but they found none. So the gathering was prohibited. It was the gathering that was prohibited. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, how long shall you refuse to guard my commands and keep my instructions? He gives you the word, but it is your responsibility to take care of it according to how he has prescribed. If you do not take care of it according to how he has prescribed it, you will not eat. If you didn't obey, you didn't eat. Yah supplied their daily rate. That is portion. Like I said before, manna, the root word of it is what, how, why, when. It could mean what is it, or it is a portion, is what it can mean. Yah supplied their daily rate, their portion. They had to trust that the next day Yah would provide. Are we afraid of that? Exodus 16, they gathered more than what they needed because they didn't trust the word. And when it was left over, it bred worms and it stank. You had to gather it on time. If you didn't gather it on time, there wasn't anything there for you because the wax or the sun, when it came, it waxed off. Lay it up. That was a miracle. We are going to have to trust Yah for our daily portion. Because you know what? No matter how many canned vegetables you have, no matter how many bottles of water you have, no matter how much food you think you store up, no matter how much, it eventually will run out. And then what are you going to do? You think about the children of Israel that came out. It was a span of time before they started crying out, I want water, or I need manna, or I'm hungry. It was a span of time when they came out before they started crying out, I'm hungry. So how long will it be before you start crying out after your own supplies are gone and you have to completely depend on Yah? So my charge for you this morning is depend on Him now. Don't wait till you've spent everything that you've stored up. You trust in Him now for your daily rate. Does that scare you? Deuteronomy 8. Deuteronomy 8 and 1, guard to do every command which I command you today, that you might live. Now, this is the same chapter where he says, a man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yah. Now, notice he says, guard to do every command which I command you today. So what is the word? The commands. The commandments are the word. He says, guard to do every command which I command you today, that you might live. Man does not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yah. And shall increase and go in and shall possess the land of which Yahuwah swore to your fathers. And you shall remember that Yahuwah your Elohim led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness to humble you. That what? You would not trust in yourself. That you would completely depend on Him. You had to be humbled. What does that word humble mean? He has afflicted you. He has oppressed you. That word literally means be bowed down. What's the opposite of humble? I believe pride to a sense, but I think also the best word to describe it is stiff-necked. That's what that word is. I have had a generation of stiff-necked people. What does that mean? They will not bow the neck. You can't get them to bow. He said, I brought you out here to humble you, to get you to bow. Bow down, He has weakened you. We trust too much in ourselves. We trust too much in our abilities. We trust too much in our money, our resources. He's taking us somewhere. That's all I'll say about that. So, I brought you out to humble you, to prove you. That means test, try, tempt, assay, put the proof to the test. Prove you to know what is in your heart, whether you guard His commands or not. Now notice what he said. If you guard the commands, you will live. If you guard the commands, I'll take care of you. That word live means have life. If you guard the word, you're going to be taken care of. You guard the word, it preserves your life. Have life, remaining alive. If you guard the word, you will remain alive. Who are the ones that fell in the wilderness? The ones who did not the ones who disobeyed. The ones who did not obey. Have life, remaining alive. If you keep and guard my words, it will sustain your life. You will live forever. Be quickened. You will be restored. Be restored to life. You will be restored to health. He will revive you. I'm going to test you and prove you and humble you to see what is in your heart. And what does that mean? Whether you think you can do it on your own or not. I'm going to humble you that you would completely trust in me. And then what does he say? And he humbled you and let you suffer hunger. I believe that's why it says humble is afflict. He afflicted you and let you suffer hunger. And let you suffer hunger and fed you with manna, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know. So you never experienced anything like that. There's no story of anything like that. To make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but by all that comes from the mouth of Yahuwah. And that just strikes me. Why did Moses not join the children of Israel? Because he was satisfied. He was satisfied continually. And we'll get into that too when we talk about Proverbs. Notice, not only did he feed them, your garments did not wear out on you, nor did your foot swell these 40 years. And they're walking out. And there was something that was mentioned that I thought was really interesting. Manna in the wilderness, the desert. They were depending on this manna, coriander seed, whatever you want to call it, to be on the desert floor every morning. That's striking. He fed them in the wilderness. But not only that, he took care of their clothes. Your garments did not wear out on you, nor did your feet swell these 40 years. Thus you shall know in your heart that as a man disciplines his son, so Yahuwah, your Elohim, disciplines you. So corrects you. A lot of times we think about whipping our son, but that's not all that discipline means, or chastise means. It means to discipline, to instruct, correct, teach. I have taught you. I've taught you. Now, these are spiritual things. Being humble is a spiritual thing. Okay? And that's what I was going to say earlier. If you can, describe love to me. You can't. You can't. Describe the feeling that you feel when you see the sunrise. Describe these spiritual feelings to me. You can't. Humbleness is something that you can't see. Of course, you see the evidence of it in people's lives, but it is something that you can't grab. It's not anything that you can buy. You can't buy love. You can't buy joy. You can't buy patience. And we've said that before. If you want love, it will be tested. If you want patience, people say don't pray for patience. Why? Because you'll be tested. Your patience will be tested. You want love, you want joy, it might be taken away from you in order to show you how much you appreciate it. And while we're thinking about that, appreciation. Saw a really good post, and it was a man. And the doctor comes to him and says, you'll have to be put on a ventilator for a day. And the man begins to cry, and they tell him it's going to be $5,000, and he begins to cry, and they're like, don't worry about the money. It'll be okay. And the guy goes, I'm not crying because of the money. He said, because I can take care of the money. He said, all this time in my life, I've been breathing God's free air, and he hasn't charged me a thing for it. And now you're charging me $5,000 for one day on your ventilator. He hasn't charged you a dime for his air. And you don't appreciate it. He's going to take care of his people. So, he humbled you. Thus you shall know in your heart that as a man disciplines his son, so Yahuwah your Elohim disciplines you. He corrects you, he instructs you, he teaches you. He teaches you. Therefore you shall guard the commands of Yahuwah your Elohim to walk in his ways and to revere him. Psalms 37. Appreciate the breath you have. Appreciate where you lay, a nice house, the clothes that you wear. Appreciate it. So, Psalms 37 and 25, just one verse. 37 and 25. I have been young and now I am old. So I've seen a lot. That's what he said. I've been young and now I'm old. I've seen a few things. Yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging bread. Chew on that. I've seen a lot, but there's one thing I have not seen. The righteous forsaken or begging for bread. Do you know why? Because they are one with Yah. They preserve his word. They preserve his commands, like he just said. You keep my word, you guard my commands, you're going to live. You're going to live. I have not seen the righteous forsaken or their children. And that's what gets me. Now, you look through the wilderness and you look at them in the wilderness. Who were the ones that were suffering? The wicked. The unrighteous. They were the ones suffering. Did Moses have children? He did with Zipporah, and then he had another wife, the Ethiopian woman, after Zipporah. And you know what? I was really thinking about that too while I was on my mind. That while he had Zipporah, and then she cut off the foreskin of the son and threw it before his feet, is that when she got angry at him and maybe had left? Was that maybe a pivotal point of what happened? So, and that's why Moses had another wife. But anyway, yeah. You think about who were the ones that were suffering. And notice, if anybody is going to hurt you, they're going to hurt you through your children. But he said, the children will not be begging for bread. And I think that's very important that it's noted here. The righteous are never forsaken, and their children never beg for bread. He said, I was old and young, and I've seen a lot of things. But there's one thing that I have not seen. Are you afraid to depend on him for your daily rate? That word noon, if you look to the very side of chapter 37 and verse 25, you look to the very side of it, that is noon. Noon is seed, is what that is. I have been young and now I am old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging for bread. Look at the wilderness. They were fed, they were sheltered, they had clothing. Why didn't Moses complain with the rest of the children of Israel? Moshe was satisfied to do the will of Yah. Proverbs 13. Proverbs 13 and 24. He who spares his rod hates his son, and he who loves him seeks him with discipline. Now, man, Yah hit us hard. Woe to them who leave the children by themselves. For the children to learn by themselves. Woe to them. Woe to them, or woe to the man who does not correct. And like I said, that word discipline does not always have to mean whoop. Woe to the man who does not teach his child. Woe to the man who does not instruct his child. Woe to the man. It says, spare the rod. He who loves him, verse 24 again, he who spares his rod hates his son. What was the rod for? Teaching, discipline, correction. Woe to the man who spares his rod, hates his son. He who spares his rod hates his son. He who loves him seeks him with discipline, teaching, correcting. The righteous eats to the satisfying of his soul, his being. What did I say? Things that you try to, and of course they say there's soul food. Soul food. But anyway, you eat this food, you eat from this word, you take part in this word, you are satisfied. He supplies you. And the things that you look for, everybody, prove me if I'm wrong, wants to be loved. Everybody does. I don't care who you are. Everybody wants to be loved. To feel some type of protection, to feel some type of compassion for people, and prove me if I'm wrong. You hope to some degree, and we know all of us can be difficult at times, that people will be patient with you. Those things that you seek can be found in Yah. He supplies your spiritual needs. What does he say? The righteous eats to the satisfying of his soul. We are consuming, eating the spiritual things of Yah. Everything that you're looking for can be found in him. Not only does he supply your physical needs, he fed them bread, he supplies their spiritual needs. He said, I gave you bread, but I suffered you to hunger to humble you. That is physical and spiritual. Right there. Humbleness is spiritual. The bread was physical. He taught them two things. The righteous eats to the satisfying of the being. The stomach of the wicked is lacking. What does that mean? They're always wanting. I think about in Proverbs 30, it says, thus says the leech, give, give. Things that are never full, the barren womb, the grave, the fire, never says is enough. Give, give. So is the wicked. Never satisfied. The stomach of the wicked is lacking. And like I said, the ones that cried out for the bread were the same ones in Numbers that were sick of the bread. Continue on. That word lacking means always wanting. The wicked want. The righteous are taken care of, but the wicked are always lacking. Woe to them who leave the children to themselves, the one who does not instruct their child. Numbers 11. Numbers 11, verse 1. And it came to be when the people were as complainers, it was evil in the ears of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah heard it, and his displeasure burned, and the fire of Yahuwah burned among them and consumed those in the outskirts of the camp. And I think about this, and I think it's very important why he said they were in the outskirts. The reason that I think that they were consumed is because they kind of separated themselves from Israel. They were on the outskirts of the camp. I'm not having anything to do with these people, and it made it, I hate to say it, a little bit easier to take care of them. They were on the outskirts of the camp. I don't want nothing to do with Israel. I'm getting out of here. And the people cried out to Moshe, and Moshe prayed to Yahuwah, and the fire died down. Then when he called the name of that place Taberah, because the fire of Yahuwah had burned among them, and the mixed multitude who were in the midst lusted greatly. That word lusted is desired. They inclined, they coveted, they waited, or lusted, want, sigh, want, crave. They lusted. Now, we all have desires. Every one of us. We all have desires. But the desire they were trying to feel could have been filled with spiritual things instead of the physical things, if you keep looking at it. And the mixed multitude who were in the midst lusted greatly, so the children of Israel also wept again and said, "Who is giving us meat to eat?" Where's our food? The basis type of thinking is about the body and supplying the body's needs. That's why I think it was very important that Moses went on to Sinai. He fasted 40 days twice. Okay? And when he came down, it said that his face shone. He was a spiritual person. That's why I think that fasting is very important. I don't do it as often as I should. But the reason is because you put away the desire of the flesh and you subdue it with the desire of the Spirit. Your spirit should be stronger than your flesh. That's the truth. But right here, and we see the example and we learn spiritual things, the flesh of the wicked, the flesh of the mixed multitude, that voice was stronger than their spiritual voice. And they lusted for the meat. We remember the fish which we ate without cost in Mitzrayim. They remember the fish, but they don't remember the cost. They remember the fish, but they don't remember what it cost them. We remember the fish which we ate without cost in Mitzrayim, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. They are not thinking about spiritual things. They are thinking about physical things. They're remembering the good old days when we were in Egypt. And I remember all the food that we used to make. But they are missing out on spiritual growth because they're looking at the past. But now our life is dried up. There is not to look at but this manna. The same people that cried for the manna are the same people that are now despising the bread. And Yah supplied their needs. Now the manna was like coriander seed, and its appearance like the appearance of bdellium. Let's make sure that I was going to go that far. The people went about, then gathered it, ground it on millstones, and beat it in the mortar, and cooked it in a pot, and made cakes of it. And its taste was like the taste of cakes baked with oil. And when the dew fell on the camp at the night, the manna fell on it. And Moshe heard the people weeping throughout their clans, each man at the door of his tent, and the displeasure of Yahuwah burned exceedingly, and in the eyes of Moshe it was evil. It was trouble. Let me get something out of this. The fact, I'm thinking, notice it says, "Who is giving us meat?" in verse 4. I think they were tired of working for it. Notice, and prove me if I'm wrong, but that's why it says the process that they had to go through in order to eat the manna. They say, "Who is giving us?" And then they say how it was made. The people went about and gathered it. Now notice they had to gather more on Friday for Saturday. They gathered it, ground it on the millstone, and beat it in the mortar. That does not sound like an easy job. And cooked it in a pot and made cakes of it, and the taste was as the taste of the cakes baked with oil. They said, "Who's going to give us?" They didn't say, "What do we have to work for?" They said, "Who's giving us?" And then it tells how it was made. That sounds like work. They were not satisfied. Who shall give us? Maybe they got tired of working for their living. Maybe Israel became lazy. We all have needs. Every one of us. We all have needs. We have a need to feel loved. We have a need for hope. Everybody in this life needs something to hope in. Everybody in this life has to have a confident expectation. People who do not have hope, those are the people that die. The lack of hope destroys the body. We have a need for confident expectation or something to hope in. We need patience and someone to be patient with us. People are trying to fill a spiritual void with physical things. Instead of meditating on the things that Yah was doing with them, they kept on thinking about Egypt, and they named off a multitude of the foods they used to have. We had the onions, and we had the melons, and we had this, and we had that. What were they meditating on? Yah supplies both your physical and spiritual needs. The thing about the spiritual is it's a little harder to gain. Like I said, if you want patience, your patience will be tried. If you want love, difficult people to love will be put in your life. If you want hope, it'll be tested for it to be strengthened. I think about marriage, like we talked about before. People are trying to get this physical void or spiritual void filled within them by physical things, and they look at it through a partner. I think about marriage. A spouse cannot supply all of your needs. That's the truth. Proverbs 30. What this world is looking for is Yah. Everyone has a desire to be loved. Everyone has a need of love. Proverbs 30 and 5. Proverbs 30 and 5. The word of Eloah is refined. He is a shield to those taking refuge in him. So what does that refined mean? It's been tested and tried, and it's been purified. You can test the word. It's been tested many times, and it's purified. If you haven't seen it and you have Tubi, get on sometime. They have a new Patterns of Evidence. It is Who Wrote the Torah, and it's pretty good. The thing that boggles me is trusting so much in the history that they feed you. And the reason is, they tell us, for one, that the Exodus was in the new kingdom of Egypt. But the history of it and the way that guy plays it out, it was more like in the middle kingdom of Egypt. Not in the new kingdom with Ramses. It was in the middle kingdom with Hamatzafutpa. I don't remember what his name was, but there is a Pharaoh. And it's in the middle kingdom. During the middle kingdom, there came about a writing, okay? And this writing fed all the way in. They think that the Phoenicians were the first ones to write an alphabet, An alphabet. They thought the Phoenicians were the first one to write an alphabet, but actually, through history and true history, it was more of an old Hebrew, and then the Phoenicians took it and gave it to the Greeks and Aramaic. Yes. So, the real history is harder to find. The fake history is what they put out there for you. That you want, that's very easy to find. And that's why I charge you, the things that you're looking for on the internet, be very careful with those things. Because the most prominent ones are not always the truth. You've got to dig deeper to understand the truth. So it's really good. And he talked about, if you haven't seen it, it's Patterns of Evidence, Moses, or Who Wrote the Torah. And long story short, the evidence is there. Moses wrote it in Old Hebrew. And it's not Paleo, but it might be Ancient Hebrew is what it was. The one where you see the ox and the ox head. And it also talks about how that has formed into what we have now. You have the ox head with the horns, and that turns into the letter A, Aleph. So how it has transposed through the years. It's pretty good stuff. But anyway, the truth is there. The absolute truth is there. But it is not a lot of times what the scholars and the people put out there, because they are the ones that are teaching you what they have been taught. Same thing with the doctors. They are teaching you what they have been taught, not what they have studied. And if you study for yourself, and there are scholars and there are teachers out there that have studied for themselves, and they go against what is taught in the seminars, and they're thrown out because that's just the way it is. And which some of that stuff is in that Patterns of Evidence. Check it out sometime if you want to. Patterns of Evidence, Who Wrote the Torah. So Proverbs 30 and 5. Every word of Eloah is refined, so it is tested, tried, it is purified. He is a shield to those taking refuge in him. Do not add to his words, lest he reprove you, and you be found a liar. 2. I have asked of you, do not deny them to me before I die. Remove falsehood and lying word far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me my portion of bread. My daily portion. Give me my portion, or feed me my portion of bread, lest becoming satisfied and I deny and I say, who is Yahuwah? And lest I be poor and steal and seize the name of my Elohim. I just want to be content. Just give me what I need. I want to live a simple life. That's it. Simple. So he said, don't give me more. Don't give me less. Just give me what I need. My daily rate. That is why this message is called your daily rate. He supplies your need for that day. That word convenient, it is portion. It's the limit. Give me my limit. Give me what is prescribed to me. Give me what is due prescribed. Give me my prescribed portion. Don't give me more. If you take more, what's going to happen? It's going to wither away in the morning. If you don't depend that he's going to supply for your needs. Every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yah, live by it. He said it. The man crying, we talked about the man crying on the ventilator. Just appreciate what you have. Appreciate it. Do you thank him enough? Are you afraid? Because there's a lot of fear in today's media, in today's teachings, about what man can do to you or what's going to happen. Are you afraid that he's not going to supply your daily needs? I feel like Jeremiah. I'm not saying one way or the other, but what I'm saying is there is not a time that I have not been taken care of. And he's going to continue doing that. He's going to supply every day my daily rate. But you know what the thing is? You've got to gather it every day. You can't lay down on it. You got to gather it every day. Except Sabbath. More on Friday. Then you rest on Saturday. So, that's the reality. It's going to be there, but it's going to be a time when you're not going to have anything stored. And you're going to have to gather almost every day. Except for the Sabbath. Yah is good. Yah bless you. Baruch Hashem. Let's bow our heads. Yahuwah, thank you for this day that you've given us. Yah, thank you for your love. Thank you for your word, how you give it to us, Yah. I know that you are doing and making and molding us into something beautiful. Yah, we just want to hold on you for our daily needs. We want to hold on you for our spiritual needs. Thank you for the things that you have even taught us in this, Yah, talking about the manna, how you suffered them to hunger, you humbled them to see what was in their hearts. Not only did you supply their physical needs, but you also taught them something spiritual, what it means to be humbled. Not that we would be proud, Yah, but that we would completely trust in you and not in ourselves, Yah. May we not be angered with one another, Yah. There might be a time when we have to gather, but Yah, we just draw closer to each other and draw closer to you, Yah, we pray. So thankful for who you are. We just lift you up on high. You are Elohim and we are your people. Baruch Hashem. Hallelujah. Amen.